Hiya. Come in. Hey, Ben, look. Who's that? Who am I? Lucy Adams, skateboarder. I have a whippet. It's a hobby. I collect camo. My favourite camo is probably desert camo. Been skateboarding for 20 plus years and I live to skate, man.
How would I describe Lucy to someone?
She was a lovely little girl. She was a busy little girl.
I like the fact that she's like fiercely independent.
She's just naturally strong-minded as well, and she's very stubborn, as you know.
The more I get to know her, the more I kind of like really enjoy her like psycho spiv-outs about things. No, Stu, it's not right.
And if she's got a bee in her bonnet about something, she'll stick to it.
No. Okay, yeah, it's good.
She's insane, but in the best way possible.
I'm an artist. This is my life's work.
It's terrible at eating. Basically, it was like beige food groups.
Would only eat chicken nuggets.
There's no vinegar allowed in the house. Can't go in a chip shop.
Fortunately, that has changed over the years.
She likes an early night.
She's a very functional person. She just functions. Right, now I need to practice this trick.
It's just Lucy, isn't it?
Front cover, sports teacher. All the best PE teachers get that one. I was always really into sports when I was young.
I played stallball, her dad played football. Sport was just quite big in our family.
I liked to be in most of the teams. I was in like athletics and rounders and...
Certainly when she was big enough to wear roller skates, she had roller skates.
With my roller skates, I did roller disco, and then swimming was a big part of my life. We'd train 3 or 4 times a week, 2 hours a night. I was about 13. I used to swim for Crawley Swimming Club, and I was at the pool one evening. There was some builders out the back, and they were starting to construct Crawley Skate Park.
I do remember the exact day, yeah. The skate park wasn't even open. We had just finished building the ramp. She came in with a pair of roller boots.
Bow turbos with really nice like pearlescent wheels. I loved them.
Sort of started going on the ramp as I was trying to skate.
He was on the mini ramp and he did a blunt fakie, and I couldn't even imagine how he made the board do that. You know, there was bants and they told me,
don't come back to the skate park unless you get a skateboard. The next week or so, I think it was, she turned up with a new board, and then from then on I just remember seeing her all the time.
I was totally into it and I wanted to just go there all the time. I'd go to Crawley Swimming Club every Friday, but when I would go there and I didn't want to go in the water, I thought, oh, this is eating into my skating time, man. So instead of going swimming, I would just run my hair under the tap and then I would just pretend I'd been swimming, and my friends were a bit like, it's a bit naughty what you're doing. And I was like, don't tell your mum. Like, she'll tell my mum.
It's the sort of thing I would have done when I was little. If she thinks she had one over on us, good luck.
So soon after I told my parents, I was just like, I don't like swimming.
She wanted to go skateboarding, so she went skateboarding.
At first I wasn't really aware that I was the only girl skateboarding because we were all just beginning at the same time. Everybody was just there trying to learn to skate.
The fact that the others who were on skateboards were boys was completely irrelevant. She just wanted to go skateboarding.
She was always part of the group. It didn't matter if she was the only girl.
People knew about her in town. She was like a kid that was really good at skateboarding in Horsham, and we had known her when we were younger, so I wanted to go down the park and watch her.
Her skateboarding always sort of spoke for itself, and people were always like, oh, she can actually skate and she's really good.
Some of these things I just had on my wall in my bedroom when I was a kid. This is Joe Habgood dropping in on a Dalek's eyelid. This is something I drew. Blondie, eat your heart out. Lucy Adams, born to skate. I went to a girls' school and that was a bit weird because obviously I was like in an all-girl environment and then pretty much straight to a like male-dominated environment. So it was a real change. I felt better in the all-male one. The girl thing did start getting a bit bitchy. So then when I went to the skate park, and although it was male-dominated, but it was like action. It was like we were just doing things. It was just simpler. I started to become aware that I was like different from being a female when, as we were turning 14, 15, the boys at the park started to talk about girls more and started to be interested in girls, and other girls came to the park and did that sitting around the edge thing. And that's when I started to realise, like, oh no, I'm a bit different.
I remember seeing other kiddies turn out and they'd be like, you could hear them whispering to each other, like, is that a girl? Lucy being Lucy would just be like, yes, I am a girl.
The age-old "you're good for a girl" would come out all the time. I can see why that's a bit of a bad thing to say, but back then, like, that was a bit of a compliment for me, because I was like, yeah, where are the others? I want to see one, and can they do kickflips? Yeah, definitely back then it was a bit rough and it wasn't feminine. Going to the skate park, which was considered kind of dirty, when drug taking was quite high at the skate park, I was just like, oh my God, these are bad things. It's bad, scary things. You shouldn't do them. You could die. I didn't do drugs. I didn't drink. I didn't do those things, and I was a girl. So it must have been hard, but it didn't feel that hard at the time.
You're not a victim if you don't see yourself as a victim. She was her own person and that's what she decided to do. She stuck with it, warts and all. It was just what she wanted to do.
The love of skateboarding is what kept me in it.
She always had a lot of motivation and a lot of drive to go skating, and I think I found that quite inspiring to be around.
She would never let a trick beat her. Every time she come down, she learnt something new, and before long she was better than most of the kids down there.
This is Crawley. I'll try and find you some good stuff here. Crawley 1.0. It had an original jump box as part of the Spine complex, the mini ramp complex. That jump box wasn't the best, but that was one of the first that I learned on. And I remember getting my first air, and probably was like 3 inches.
She came home and said, well, I did a metre of air today. Did you, Lucy? What would you like for your tea? Very shortly after that, somebody came over from the Crawley Herald, I think, and took a picture of her, a photograph, and it was in the local Crawley paper. It looked like she was in the sky with all this air below her, and it was a great picture. Her grandparents absolutely loved it.
And I just thought it was the best thing. Like, I guess because ollieing was so hard, the jump box took that bit away from it. Once I realised there were grabs as well, it's just the best thing ever. Yep, love a cannonball, tail grab 1 foot, Benny finger flip, sow flip. It's just like the best thing about skateboarding.
Once she started to get good enough to be in competitions, there just weren't any competitions for girls, or it was tagged on the end.
I remember quite early on going to King of Street when there was like a girls' jam, but it was almost like everyone was like, OK, Veggie time, get off the ramps now. It was still good, I think, at that time. 2002, that was quite early on, but that was probably the first time I think I'd seen Lucy and other girl skaters.
I think I came first. Oh, there she is. Look at those laces.
Lucy was starting to get recognition from brands and magazines a little bit on a very low level.
My first sponsor was 360 Clothing, and then Globe Shoes started their sister company, Galas. So they started hooking me up with these Galas shoes, and I was getting a few shirts and stuff at the time, and that was rad because they were sort of hooking up a few other girls. And then I think it must have been Reaction, really, through Rodney Clark. It was short-lived. I think I took the place of Flynn Trotman. Rode for them for a few months and then it got canned. So I was just picking up element boards off of New Deal after that. And then I think it was when Jenna started Rogue Skateboards. So she mentioned to me, I want to start this company. I'm going to call it Rogue, and I want women riders at the beginning. And started riding for her with a little crew. Got in the cars, just drove somewhere for a weekend. We'd all crashed at someone's house. Got a bit of footage. Jenna started learning how to take photos. That started to wind down because she wasn't really able to make money off of it. It was the thing she did because she just wanted to make boards and give them to people that she thought deserved them. Trophies, good one.
10 years ago, when the UK sort of comp scene was thriving, I'd go to kind of all these different comps. Lucy would always be there and always be very focused in her Lucy Adams skateboarding kind of way. I think she has made a name for herself being on the competition circuit. Yeah, it would have been at one of those comps that I think I first met her. Man, she's going to kill me if I got this wrong. Jenna Selby, who's been for a long time doing the girls' skate comps at Pioneer once a year, she asked if I would donate some prizes, which I did.
And I won a Real Girls Skate Curbs board.
I can't remember that she contacted me. It all seemed to be so much simpler then. I don't think she DM'd me or anything like that. Probably phoned or something, I don't know, maybe an email. And then she came to the studio and we had like a meeting. It was kind of funny.
I remember him saying to me, like, this is just a thing I do, I really love it. Here's some discounted boards and a couple of free t-shirts. And I was just like, this is amazing. Do you know what? I also just thought the name was sick. Love and Skate. A few weeks later, I literally got an email from him saying, right, I'd like you to ride for us. I think that was a start.
There's a big blank space and the only thing that I can fill that in with is like the next time she was in the studio getting her toes tattooed with Love and Skate. I made Lucy the first pro because she, in my mind, was the most deserving person on the team to go pro. Very hard working. She's very serious about skateboarding and the way that she sees skateboarding to be. And I thought it was high time that she was recognised for that, and making her pro seemed to be the most obvious thing to do.
Yeah, the first board came off the back of me feeling a little bit low, so it was a really good time. It was like sort of helped me come out of a struggle. Yeah, I was overwhelmed really.
So for Lucy's Pro Graphic, I basically wanted to give her as much control as she wanted, basically.
I worked with a really good artist called James Callahan. I knew I wanted a white dip board.
And she came up with the idea of Master of Camouflage. Sent them to James, and James kind of worked on this graphic which would basically look like an owl that was kind of all blended in with the camouflage. It came out beautifully. The board sales were amazing.
The board came out in 2017, and at that time definitely female skateboarding participation wise and just kind of coverage wise was definitely on the increase. I think that the lack of traditional magazine coverage meant that social media had its day of like really starting to help women, because you could meet up with each other much more easily and also give us a platform to promote ourselves when the more traditional skate media wasn't doing it. It's just helped us come on leaps and bounds really. There's a lot of new young girls coming through that had their eyes open to opportunity and possibility. Seeing like the likes of Sky Brown and, you know, Lizzie Armanto, Nora, doing all this crazy stuff and going in the air and that, and just thinking like, yeah, wow, I've got all this open to me. I think it's important that the women help to grow their own scene that has its own identity, that doesn't follow what's gone before. This is my office.
Compact and beige you.
But it's functional, just like me. Like, look, I just get in there in that little chair, get in my cubby hole.
For Lucy right now, man, she does so much.
It's extraordinary what she's done in supposedly her spare time. She does do a full-time job.
Gets home, flies somewhere Friday evening, works all weekend doing skateboarding stuff, and then gets home like midnight Sunday and then straight back to work on Monday.
She's part of Vans. There's like a brilliant girls programme which is going right now.
Girls get on board. We've been going out to different countries on a weekend doing these build your own board workshops, learn to skate, showing videos. So that's just been phenomenal. I was lucky enough to get sent on a trip with Vans to Jakarta and Bali earlier this year with a handful of different women from all over the world.
She's heavily involved in the Olympics, and I know that that is taking a lot of energy to make sure that it happens in the right way.
She's the chair of Skateboard England and Skateboard GB.
It could be anything from going to Houses of Parliament to talk to sports ministers, trying not to argue on the internet, meetings with UK Sport about talent ID and performance pathways, awards ceremonies for women in sport, arguing with roller skaters, that was a big one.
She comes back and tells me so many things. I'm like, what was that bit for again and what was this? It is hard to keep track.
It's exhausting hearing about what she's up to. It makes me feel so lazy.
I can't even imagine then, 20 odd years ago, that she knew that skateboarding was going to be where it is today. None of us did.
Everything she's ever sort of done and worked towards is sort of, without her really knowing, has led her up till now, and I think it is sort of perfect for her really.
She's helped make it what it is today, and we're really very proud of her.
I enjoy, I think, being busy and like multitasking a lot of the time until it gets overwhelming. Sometimes I just want to just go skateboarding.
It's definitely her life. If she's ever daydreaming and I'm like, what are you thinking about? And it'd be a trick. She wakes up dreaming she's been to the skate park, and we have our holidays booked around skate parks and things like that.
She could have quite easily just given up, and being the only girl, especially like for a long, long time, where does the drive come from? But she works for it, and there's not many people that do that these days, And
I think she still shows that she's just as valid now as she was then, if not more so. She still holds her own against the younger generation as well. I think that's really inspiring to think, like, wow, Lucy's like in her 30s and is still really good at skateboarding.
It is what makes her happy. So if you're not doing something that's making you happy, what's the point,